of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, welcome everybody. Good to see everybody out tonight. Our roll call, everybody's present here tonight. So we moved on to the approval of the agenda. Anything needed to be added or deleted? Okay. Yes.
On item 10, closed session, we have A, review attorney memorandum, but also should be a B, to discuss litigation strategy.
And B for litigation strategy. Okay, anything else? All those in favor of approving the minutes, or as the agenda, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, public comments. Anybody? Okay. Public comment is closed, and now we go down to the consent agenda. Mr. Wenzel.
Mr. Supervisor, I move that Salem Township approve the following consent agenda items. The minutes of last month's April 9th special meeting of the Board of Trustees. The regular meeting, I should say. Sorry, that's going to be regular. Minutes of the closed session, April 9th, regular meeting. C, the disbursements for April 2013, the general fund of the April check roster of $60,606.53. Those are the checks 23,907 through 23,948. The escrow fund disbursements of $980 with the check 1520. We had total payroll for April $58,410.13. The electronic fund transfer from Paycor was $173. And the sewer fund, we had $7,494.49 with two checks, $1890 and $1891. The invoices for May for the general fund are $124,963.86. We also had the sewer fund of invoices for $13,331.37. Do we have a second?
Mr. Supervisor, I'll support with a friendly notation that the invoices for May actually total $126,075.27.
Can you repeat that again? That's,
As it's listed in the board package, it's $126,075.27.
All right.
I think your very efficient deputy clerk slid one under the table at the last minute.
All right.
You being able to update your agenda.
Thank you.
so we have a second on that by Mr. Trent. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Okay, we go down to board discussion, number 6, and that's the clerk's report on the petitions on 3 Cedars Farm.
Mr. Supervisor, I will be just reading this clerk's report. I won't be reading the the whole thing, but we had a petition. We had 54 pages of petitions containing 550 signatures. And this was basically for the individuals out in the audience in regards to having an election to have a referendum against the ordinance against Three Cedars Farms. So 550 signatures were taken. Several signatures were rejected due to not being registered in the jurisdiction. Several signatures dated after the circulatory dated the sheet, and several miscellaneous identification problems. However, after reviewing the remaining signatures with the computer system, which is called the Qualified Voter File Database, the clerk has determined that of the 550, 529 are valid. As a result, the number of signatures exceeds the minimum of the 398 signatures required to certify the petition for referendum. The circulators of the 54 pages, Wayne Walsey filed 20 pages, O'Neill Muirhead filed 13, Joanne Heil filed 12, Greg Timmons filed 3 pages, Lawrence Petrosky filed 2, Denise Palmer filed 1, Marcia Van Fossen filed 1, Jane Griffin filed 1, and Shastra Bothi, if I'm pronouncing that right, filed 1 page. Therefore, my conclusion that I've determined that the originator of the petition, which is Mr. Greg Timmons, has filed a valid notice of intent to file a petition for referendum. He did this within the 7 days after publication of the notice of the adoption of ordinance to amend the official zoning map of Salem Township. There was a sufficient number of valid signatures that were filed on a state-approved uniform petition form, and they submitted that to the clerk's office of Salem Township before the 30-day filing deadline. And there definitely was more than enough votes cast. There was valid enough signatures, exceeded the minimum 15% of votes cast in the last general election for the governor as required by the statute. Therefore, the ordinance and state statute requires the Board of Trustees, contingent upon final approval of the ballot language, to place the referendum on the ballot for the next regular election that provides sufficient time and notices in printing of the ballots. So that is my report. And just some comments. It'll take us some time to figure out the proper ballot language. We'll get with our township attorney, and we'll proceed as we can. Is there any questions on the board members?
All right, Mr. Clerk. All right, we move on down to the RFP update, item 6B. Trent? Is there a question?
Mr. Clerk?
Oh,
Thanks. I just have one question. Would you please repeat the names of the people who circulated the petitions?
It's on the report that's in the packet. Wayne Walsey filed 20. O'Neill Muirhead filed 13. Joanne Heil filed 12. Greg Timmons filed 3 pages. Lawrence Petrosky filed 2 pages. Denise Palmer 1. Mrs. Van Fossen 1. Jane Griffin filed 1. And Sastra Bothi filed 1.
Thank you.
That's in the report.
all right, thanks, Del. Okay.
Mr. Supervisor, just to provide an RFP update, as the board will recall, last month we approved the executive officials to proceed forward with preparing RFPs for a number of services. One of those that we identified was the ultra-high pressure skid unit that Chief Rockwell proposed in our budget review a couple of months ago. That is included in your board package. The clerk will be submitting a summary notice to the newspaper for publication, and we should be receiving bids in a timely manner where that may come to the board for approval next month. Also, the optical scanning project will be going out for RFP next month, as well as the assessing contract. We do have the template that was developed from 3 years ago that is updated this week and will be included in next month's board package for review before it goes out for bid next month, which will give us adequate time to review bids that should come back in July. The current contract with the assessor ends at the end of August, so that would be coming to the board table at our August meeting for that review. And then the other items will be going out for bid in the October timeframe. So we just wanted to provide that update to you, that we'll be proceeding forward in those matters for the board directive last month. And then obviously one of the other items that we agreed to go out for bid on was office cleaning, and that'll be coming up later in tonight's agenda.
All right. Any questions on those? In fact, that's where we're at right now, is the office cleaning. So, under administrative business items, our first will be the motion, and Mr. Trent, you have the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I move that Salem Township approve the bid from Elliott Cleaning in the amount of $870 per month for office cleaning services with additional extra services as quoted.
You have a second on that? Question?
Why do we pick Elliott Cleaning?
Mr. Supervisor, we technically need a second before we get into any discussion.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. For the benefit of the board, the four parties that have submitted bids are the same players who came to the table 2 years ago. And so I personally am very familiar with all four companies. And 2 years ago, Crystal Group, which was then known as Crystal Cleaning, came in with the lowest bid of $580. And they were awarded the contract. Last year, there was a motion that was brought forward to extend the contract for a 3-year period. That firm was willing to continue the pricing for another 3 years. Because of some concerns with the adequacy of cleaning at that time from some of the members of the board, the contract was only extended for 1 year for a review this year. Coincidentally, with the timing of our bid proposal request, we have run into a number of issues in the last 3 weeks with the current vendor. Some of them that are very traumatic, a cavalcade of catastrophes, if you will, have ensued in the past 3 weeks. Part of it is a result of a change in personnel within their company that performs the cleaning here at Salem Township. The other is a substitute person who came in over the weekend, was not provided the proper code, and yours truly got a phone call at 1 o'clock in the morning on Saturday to have to come up here and disarm the security system because the individual was not properly apprised on what they needed to do to ensure that the alarm was not only turned off but also rearmed. And the next morning I came back, and lo and behold, not to my surprise, the facility had not been properly, the security system had not been properly coded to access the security alarm. We've had some cleaning issues with the Ryder House. There was one weekend where the Ryder House was not cleaned here about 2 weeks ago, and the place was literally a disaster over there. from the newspaper article that you may have seen in the South Lyon Herald a couple weeks ago. There's been some new state troopers that have been assigned to the Brighton Post. 2 of those new troopers are ladies, and they have the pleasure of being trained out of the Salem substation here across the parking lot. And lo and behold, the day that I went over there to do a review of the Ryder House, walking around with one of our vendors that was bidding, we discovered that the place had not been cleaned over the weekend and that they had run out of toilet paper that day. And the new lady troopers over there were not too happy. And so, and then we had an issue where the front porch of the Ryder House became a nesting place for some birds or ducks. They had made the porch a travesty, as well as the windows over there. And that had been brought to the attention of our cleaning company. The owner had promised that they would take care of that, and we said, you know, that's something that's over and above the call of duty. We realize that's something that's outside of the normal bounds. Just bill us accordingly. They said that they would take care of that, and they did not. So there's just been a number of occurrences over the last few weeks that have raised some concerns, not only that were shared a year ago from some members of the board about the adequacy of cleaning, but in recent months, members of our staff have indicated that there's been some periodic issues that have been trying to be addressed. And then with this, these issues that have come to the forefront here in the past 3 weeks, it has confirmed in my mind that perhaps it is the right time to transition to a different vendor. When you look at the quotes from the other players, and these are the same folks who bid 2 years ago, and when you look at the quotes from other people that bid on the contract even previously in the past, the quotes that are in the $800 to $900 price range is what you would call statistically normal. That is, where most of the field ended up several years ago when we went out for bids and we had more people that bid on the contract 4 or 5 years ago. Brooks Cleaning has been a prior vendor to the township. That business owner does live in the hamlet, but we changed from that company to Crystal Cleaning 2 years ago because there were concerns with the cleaning of that company at that time. Elliott Cleaning has been in business for a number of years. Their references have been checked out. I'm familiar with the work they do at other facilities, and I think they would do a very good job for us, and we should award them a 1-year contract. So that's why the price will increase, and Crystal Cleaning has devised a business plan that they go in strategically to lower the price from what the rest of the field is so that they can get their foot in the door. And that's not to say that their other customers are not happy with them, but obviously over the last month or so, we've become very unhappy. And so I think it's time to cut our ties with them and effective June 1st, give a 1-year contract to every cleaning.
Any other questions?
I have a question. We let the Michigan State Police have that Ryder House for like, what, $1 a year? I mean, nothing. Why do we pay for the cleaning?
Exactly.
It's part of the proposal that we agreed to with them to have them increase their presence here in the township. From 1 trooper to what is now with the folks that are in training, we have as many as 6, sometimes 7 cars that are out there. So there's an enhanced police presence, and that's what we committed to with them.
So are they
Not only
committed
give them
to answering more calls? Or, I mean, as far as a presence, what, I mean, if they've committed to that they're going to be servicing the township more, but I didn't know that,
Well, I can't.
that there was anything, any agreement like that.
No, there's nothing contractually with that. We just have the benefit of them having a more enhanced presence in the township. And based on a report from Washtenaw County a couple of months ago, and I don't know what the more recent numbers are, but they are responding, the state police are responding to approximately 50% of all the calls in Salem Township. And I don't know, one of the new sergeants provided a report to the supervisor today for last month, and I have not seen that report, and I don't know what it shows, but you know, when you look at the monthly reports from Washtenaw County, there's a code in there, and that code indicates that somebody other than the county responded. That's the state police. A couple months ago, it was 50% of the calls.
I do have a question. How, I'm not familiar with how many times a week the cleaning company's coming in.
Twice a week, Wednesday evening and any time over the weekend at their convenience.
Is there any way to whittle that down a little bit? Do we need twice a week for everything?
And for the most part, that has been a good program that ensures that the restrooms are adequately cleaned, especially, you know, after a big meeting like this. You know, we have 3 public meetings per month now. The second Tuesday of the month, the third Monday of the month with the Planning Commission, and then with the Land Preservation Board as well.
All right, any other questions?
One more question, and what is the additional extra services as quoted? What are they gonna do?
We asked them to do carpet cleaning as necessary and also cleaning of the windows, you know, which requires, you know, additional time and effort because of the height of the windows to the main foyer. And also once a year, we want you know, the windows and the blinds properly cleaned in both facilities. You know, that takes some extensive work to do that.
All right, anything else?
One more. How big is the cleaning staff? Do you know how many we have in, what's the size of the crew?
All the size of the company.
No, just when they do come
Oh,
in.
there's one person. One person's assigned. When they do special projects, they may have additional people come in. In fact, that was one of the things that really impressed us with Crystal, you know, to begin with, is that we had some issues with the bathrooms, and they came in and did what we called an enhanced cleaning that we paid extra monies for. They brought in special equipment, and they did, you know, a very thorough job. And one of the staff people at the time said that they didn't know that that was the true color of the floor in the Ryder House bathroom because it was, you know, so caked up over the years with dirt and grime. So, you know, they came in and did a top-notch job at the beginning, but as time has gone on, there's been some issues and concerns.
All right, any other, O'Neill, you got something?
Yeah. If the police are tearing that place apart, making it a mess over there all the time, shouldn't something be said to those guys to start cleaning up, you know, for themselves, instead of us waiting on them hand and foot?
Yeah, well, we're
Mr. Supervisor, that's really not the issue. We're just talking about
You just said it was a
regular-
mess over there, Dave.
It was a mess because it had not been cleaned. And supplies hadn't been provided. That's different than them not cleaning up after themselves. In fact, when I went over there today to do an inspection, one of the troopers was actually cleaning up and picked up the trash on his own. Because
That's what he
there
should
had
be
been
doing.
A multitude of stuff that had built up since Friday night.
Well, the township has negotiated with them, they know what they have, and we've told them that we would do this, and this is what's happened previously in the past, so we're just obligated, if we need more services from them, we need to address it, which we are. I've had issues with the state police since when we had one person, we had more of a relationship with the state police than we do now. This is my opinion, and we need to be working on that, and we need to, and we have some thoughts and some changes down the road with the Ryder House, so we'll address them in the future. All right, we have a second on the table for the motion to.
Question, Gary? David? Mr. Trent? What portion of the cleaning bill is the Ryder House?
I can't answer that because it's,
Yeah, they come in and quote.
yeah, they quote the whole thing, they don't break it out by building, so.
Well, it just seems to me that since it's smaller, it might only be a quarter of the budget, so perhaps it's not really that important.
Okay, any other discussion up on the board here?
I just wanted to say, if I'm doing my math right, they come 8 times a month, that's $100 a visit. That's pretty cheap. If you go out and hire an individual to clean your house, they're not gonna do it for $100.
And they are supplying the supplies,
Oh,
I think,
that's-
to do too on top of it.
That's a very fair price.
Yeah, and, I appreciate that point, yeah, and that does cover all of the cost of the
Okay.
toiletries and paper.
All right, any other discussion on the board? Okay, all right, we have a second. And all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion passed. Okay, we're down to the road projects, number 2. I'd like to make a motion to approve the dust control agreement that we have with Washtenaw County that we've had in the past, which is the same as last year, which is in the amount of $18,917.20, which will, they'll be starting probably in a couple weeks. I think that's when they had said. So we would, of course, like to continue that. And so I'd like to make a motion on it. We have a second on that?
I'll second.
Mary Beth. Second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. As we're talking about the road projects, we've had a couple of, well, we've had actually a meeting here a week ago with Treasurer Converse and Trustee Trent and myself with Washtenaw County, and had a lengthy meeting with them and with concerns about a lot of our citizens and all of us who live in the township about our roads. Our roads just seem to be falling apart and these real issues. And if you can see some of the emails, or I should probably take the time to read some of them, it's frustrating. Most of you know Edith's Market up at Territorial and Pontiac Trail had a petition going, and they had received well over 600 signatures, had gone to the commissioners meeting, and everybody seems to be frustrated at this time. And today at 4:30, we finally received a proposal that we had talked about that I feel is exciting, and it's something for the township that we can figure out finally what to do something with our roads. North Territorial is a disaster, and it's funny if some people who don't travel or go to 14 and live on this side of the town say, well, they never even knew there was an issue. I couldn't believe I was talking to somebody on the board here, I won't mention their name, but they hadn't been down North Territorial in a long time. I says, on your way home from the township, I want you to drive down North Territorial. I mean, it's embarrassing, it's you know, and it's always been frustrating, I think, as residents, as a board, past boards, whatever, the issue has always been, it's the county, you go to the county and they say it's the state, and it just seems it's, you know, typical government thing, pass it on to the next person. Nothing gets done. So at our meeting here last week, it was basically the same thing, just passing it on, waiting for the state. They took all the roads, kind of yellow coated them, red coated them, tell us what can be fixed. But as far as North Territorial was concerned, which is a real issue, most of the phone calls and emails we received, there's nothing on the books, there's nothing slated to fix that road, and you know, they have no money. So in talking with them, we had thought, and also had heard of a way to come up with an idea, something that we could sit down and figure out with them as far as a plan to come up with a way, how can we partner with them and how can we figure out how to take care of some of these issues. So today I received about 4:30 a project which would be from Pontiac Trail to Tower Road and beyond Tower Road, about 800 feet going east of Tower Road, to take care of that road for about 300, where's my paper at? I think I gave it out to most of you tonight. $343,600 would be the total cost. Now, the problem with that road is that it totally has to be redone, infrastructure work, and a lot of work done to it. So what they had proposed, if we agreed to have that paid and chip in for it, now, most of you know, or maybe some of you don't know, that in our budget, we allot $300,000 a year to go for roads. We drive around with the foremans and stuff like that. They kind of tell us what kind of roads they want to put that to. But any of these yellow line roads that they have put in their diagrams, they said they can't do because there's no money slated, because it's infrastructure work and stuff that the state and the government will not allow, because you can't just simply repave it. They have to do the infrastructure work underneath it. So the cost of fixing that stretch of road, which I feel is really the worst right now, is $343,000. But what they had proposed to us, that they would spread out the payments over a 3-year period. So that means the township roughly, let's say $115,000 would pay this year, and be billed the following year, and then the third year to spread it over. So when you start thinking about it, what's a clever way that the township can take its resources that we do every year, that we budget $300,000 for the roads, how can we spread this out to figure it out, to get North Territorial done? And then there's other roads that we're thinking about. I mean, from M14, Gofferson Road, up to North Territorial, a lot of people exit there. It's worse and worse. We got to do something about it. So right now they're working on that section. They're also working at other sections along the North Territorial beyond from Curtis going towards Napier. And probably what I'll do is I'll leave this out for you on the back table, because you'll see how it's designated. All the yellow areas are the areas where it's got to be infrastructure work and there is no money whatsoever that it's slated for to be repaired. But to try to get it, as simple, to explain it as simple as I can, if the county is willing to stretch the payments out there, if we're budgeting $300,000 a year, how can we split it up in 3 years and figure out how to do some of these roads? Or even, this board to talk about adding more money to the budget and getting a lot of these roads, even from next year, to get, once they're out there working on it, let's get them done. We have the money to do it. It's one of the biggest concerns in the township. And let's, if they spread it out, it's money that we budget every year. And then, there's a lot of roads that we can talk about. And there's a lot of these things that I think as a board and as listening to people, we have to address it. So it's some of the other things that they have proposed for us to do is the crack sealing in some of the subdivisions. This has been an ongoing thing in the subs that we have. We have Salem Farms, we have Homestead, and Beacon Farms off Curtis. And there's been issues about how to crack seal and try to save some of them roads before they absolutely are, they're deteriorating, and what can we do to help save them? They propose like a $9,000 for each, one is actually higher, but we feel there's $9,000 slated to each one of them subdivisions. That's something out of the $300,000 that is already budgeted. So basically what I'm saying is that there's $300,000 allotted that we have in the budget for this year to get that stretch of North Territorial done from Pontiac Trail to Tower and 800 feet going east on North Territorial. It would cost the township this year $115,000. So I would propose to take that out of our budget that we've already budgeted out of the $300,000. And then from there, we can come back next month and say, what's the next cost as we go down North Territorial? And then we also do the section on Gofferson Road and see what other, from The other continuation from, was it Chubb to Curry? You know, they did from Napier to Chubb last year. And and then the exciting thing about it, which I don't know, you know, the way the government works sometimes, in Lansing, these projects that are listed in yellow have been submitted to the state as far as receiving monies from the state. And again, we know this is just not our township, it's other townships. So there's a bunch of stuff that's put up into Lansing right now that say we need help on our roads. So what the county is saying, if we sign a contract to handle this, like North Territorial and these projects, that they will spread out over the 3 years. That if it's approved in Lansing for these roads, that's up in before our legislatures now, they would reimburse us all the money that we have put into the roads. So which would be really a great thing for Salem Township. Number one, they'll take care of our roads. One thing, we budget for this every year, so we know it's a good thing. But then if we can get all of our money back from doing this project, it's a win-win. So to me, it's an exciting thing. It's something I think we need to spend some time on. But when I seen that one stretch, I don't know, I'm sure a lot of you drive it, but that one stretch is just absolutely ridiculous. And I'm sure most of you that live by others are very important to you also. But I think that we need to figure out how to move on this quickly, and let's partner up with them and figure out how to do it. But I think it's a good way to figure out how to do it without costing more. Got some questions?
Sounds great. The question I have about it is, in part of the infrastructure, does that include ditching then? Do you know? If that
Yeah,
includes-
the thing with, let's go back to just
For North Territorial.
yeah, Pontiac Trail to Tower, roughly. The one inconvenience that's going to be is they're going to have to totally close the road down,
Okay.
which is going to cause some traffic problems. But the good thing is, by closing it down, they're saying it should only take them a week, weather permitting. So the detour will be, as you're going west on North Territorial, you come to Curtis, be running north on Curtis to 6 miles, that'll be then up to Pontiac Trail, that will be the detour. They'll be posting signs before they do the work to get people ready that this is coming. That will be the detour, but I do know that people will be cutting through Brookville. I mean, so that,
But did they say anything about when they are going to do the reconstruction of North Territorial? Are they going to ditch it so that
right, they're going to
they're
reconstruct
going
the
to
whole
do the
road.
whole thing? And if the other thing I'd just like to mention, especially if they're going to be rerouting traffic, Curtis Road, we had just paid to have it redone 2 years ago, and there are big holes already starting, and I hope that they could repair those before it disintegrates again.
Right.
They are very aware of those whole
I don't understand, what happened. They tried to fix
Right.
the problem. I know
Right.
they tried to fix it by putting ditching or putting underground water thing. But one of the things that happens is the water comes off of our property, or Salem Township's property, I should,
Right.
on the west side, and when it rains, the water comes down that entrance and right onto the road, and that water just, it
Right.
deteriorates the road.
Right.
So there's something water's a culprit.
And when you think more about it, I just think, I'm not really big on committees, but anyway, I think there, a road, even doing a road committee, just to have a plan that before these roads totally fall apart,
Exactly.
is there something we can do? I mean, again, when you think of Salem Township, one thing we can give the residents or people we all live here, let's have some good roads. I mean, it just seems crazy that we don't.
I always thought that we should try and work on like a 5-year plan.
Right, you're right. And
Just
that-
have
and just-
it in a
Just don't let
vision.
them get away from us, because a lot of these have
Exactly.
gotten away from us.
Right.
And just, I don't know, do mine first. Everybody's got their, bad.
When you're talking about subdivisions, don't subdivisions have associations? where
Right,
they
they-
pay for their own roads?
Right, they do, and, you know, that's something where, you know, we can talk to subdivisions and, you know, some do and some don't. They're county roads.
Oh, they
and-
are county roads?
Well, I believe most of them are, I think all of them are county roads.
Oh, I thought they were private.
No, they're county roads. So they plow them, you know, in the winter and stuff, after everything else is done, but they are county roads. Okay,
Sandra Hahn, I live right off of Old Territorial there.
yes,
And that's the kind of the roundabout, everybody takes that road.
right,
That's really terrible.
right.
That's really terrible. So I don't know when you're looking at it, if you can
Yeah, I
look at
agree
that.
with you.
Yeah. And there's another thing, there was a do not pass sign on Old Territorial there.
A what?
A do not pass sign,
Okay.
because people, when you're trying to get into your street, they're coming around on the wrong side of you, and it's a very dangerous thing. That sign has been over like this for over 6 months. So somebody hit the sign and it's just laying there, so something could be done.
And where is that again? I'll just,
It's
I'll
on
mention
Old
that to our report.
Territorial,
Old
between
Territorial.
North Territorial and Godfrey.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Just a comment. My name is Bill Farley, by the way. We met with the county commissioners and spent a good deal of time with them, and they gave us a receptive audience, if you will, and we spent time going over the 600 signatures and how we got them and the efforts that we put into trying to at least get them to understand the priority and hopefully raise the priority for us on Territorial Road. And then we met with the county road commissioner. And I think that meeting, which I anticipated at the beginning was going to be almost nothing, they ended up giving us a considerable amount of time and spent, I would suggest, 45 minutes after the meeting in an informal discussion. So it's particularly exciting to see something come out of that group, at least on a proposal, even though obviously it's requiring us to fund some things. But nevertheless, I think the fact that they're willing to work hard to try to put a plan together, and an alternative plan is certainly what it is, and we should work with them. And I'd like to think that this group would take the 300,000 as phase one and come back and, like Mr. Supervisor suggested, have a really hard discussion over a phase two for what else we could do and spread the payments out and look at it, because the arteries coming into any township or city is particularly important and particularly a major impact. And Territorial is one of our major arteries, as well as some other roads. And certainly coming off the freeway is one of the ones that leaves a lasting image of this township. And so I'm particularly happy to see something come out of that committee, and excited to see this committee being willing to talk about it and hopefully embrace it. And the citizens are excited about it, so thank you.
Well, we'd like to thank you guys, Bob, for your participation and working and collecting and just going up there and spending the time to and helping too, so.
Yeah, I'd like to, what Bill said.
All right.
I'd like to add to that, in meeting with the road commission there, it was kind of like their goal is to have North Territorial from end to end.
Yeah.
They call it the mini 14 because when M14 goes down, the traffic is on North Territorial. They know that, they recognize that, and that is a high priority for them. And I mean, we were talking all the same language, so.
One last comment. They were initially, I thought, recognizing Territorial as a Salem road almost. The dialogue was, and before the end of the meeting, the recognition of what Territorial is was clearly understood. Clearly they would like to take on a major improvement, and if the state happens to come through with something, I think you'll see that. But in the meantime, we did talk about an alternative. to do something.
Right.
in
And
the-
then if they,
in the worst
you know,
of
and if we get all of our money back, I mean, that would be a great thing to do.
It still leaves a major hole in the Northfield Township section.
Right.
I think our next step is we'll go talk to them.
Right, right.
Gary, did they define reconstruction a little bit better? I mean, is it,
Well,
can you tell me what they mean
yeah,
by
they-
reconstruction then?
They're talking as far as building the road up, they're talking about the culverts, stuff that's collapsed. It's the sides of the road, maybe widening it some so that there's more of a, it's
So they're
kind of
gonna-
like if you've had a chance to go down 7 Mile when they redid that, they kind of,
So that will be they'll replicate what was done on
Yeah,
7 Mile, is
yeah,
what you're telling me
right.
then? Okay, it's not just going to be filling the cracks, that
No,
kind of thing?
no.
Okay.
Sandy.
Now, initially, they were talking about, oh yeah, we'll do something about it in 2014. Are you saying that they're gonna do it right away?
Well, if the township commits to this project where, you know, they're gonna spread the payments out, which, you know, I'm just one vote, but I'm just saying, I you know, and they spread it out over 3 years. They'll start on it this summer.
Hot bogeys.
Yeah. And I think that when they're out there, you know, it's not that I want to spend a lot of money. I'm just saying that, you know, if it makes sense down the future, you know, next year, another 300,000 is allotted for the roads. But if they're out there and they can get some of these major things fixed in our area, I just think that we need to look at it and consider it. So, you know, and please, you know, if you're sitting here thinking, you know, you call me anytime. You know, I'd love to discuss it with you. But I believe it's the right thing that we're headed, that we should do. Yeah.
The rest of 7 Mile that they did not do a couple years ago is very bad too. Right
Right.
now, they patched some
Right.
potholes, but it's so dangerous because you have to drive down the middle of the road.
You know, let's say that, you know, we should maybe figure out how to put some money into it and get that done this year too. Or say, okay, well, that's enough for this year, let's do it next year. But this is, if they're gonna spread it out and we're gonna do it, and then there's a chance of us getting all of our money back,
Yeah.
because, you know, like Northfield, and I wanna talk about Northfield Township, like, Northfield doesn't put any money into their roads. They don't have the money. So they're, you know, I don't know what they're gonna do. So, and a lot of townships and a lot of communities are like that. They have no money. And then, you know, and I feel sometimes sorry for the commissioners up there too. I mean, it's our bad up there. Not getting any money from the state. The gasoline tax, I forget what it was now. I mean, it's like 38 cents in Ohio.
6% tax.
Well, 36 cents of every gallon of gas goes to roads in Ohio, and I think it's like 18 cents in Michigan. And they haven't had a raise in, you know, it just, they're fighting a battle. But again, they're gonna have to figure out how to fix these roads. That's why I'm saying it's before the state, and I really think there's a good possibility that there's, from the governor, they're gonna, you know, provide monies to these roads in Michigan. And, you know, we're gonna have ours done, and then we're gonna get our money back.
Maybe I put it a different way. The county is very interested in North Territorial. We're interested in 7 Mile, and I think if we want 7 Mile, we're gonna have to push for it. We don't have to push them to do North Territorial because they know and understand and they wanna do that. But I think if the onus is on us to push 7 Mile, in which I think most of us are very, very committed to do.
All right, any more comments? We'll move on, but that's where we're headed on this. Any other comments up here? Mr. Trent?
Yeah, Mr. Supervisor, if I can just add one comment. I thought it was kind of ironic as we met with the road commissioners this past week that they did a surprise on us, if you will, and actually took a suggestion that we offered last year where we said, we'll be the bank. You know, we've got the money, we'll give it to you and you pay us back. And what ended up coming out of our discussion this year is that they offered to be the bank. and spread out the payments over 3 years. And I think this is an opportunity that we should take advantage of. It's one of those rare opportunities where the road commission says, we'll be the bank if you'll help us out, and then with the potential that, as you indicated, Mr. Supervisor, that we could get the monies back if the legislature does anything with identifying funds for road projects, and Washington County gets some supplemental benefit out of that. And so, you mentioned we've got the money, and we do. In discussions with the clerk's department earlier today, we're forecasting that for the end of our fiscal year, we're going to have $8.8 million in the bank for our year-end audit numbers. And so when you're looking at close to $9 million in the bank, we've got a $200,000 surplus forecasted for this fiscal year, and we ended up even with the $250,000 hit that we took on the arbitration award in March, that we still ended up with $120,000 surplus for this past year. And so I think when we come back to the table next month and look at the updated numbers from the road commission, that we should take a serious look at reallocating some budget numbers and see if we can actually increase that $300,000, take advantage of this opportunity if they're willing to be the bank, and spread out these payments and really get the bang for our buck, especially if we're going to be able to recoup the investment in North Territorial. And obviously that's our major east-west artery through the township, not only for our citizens, but all of our neighboring citizens that pass through Salem Township, going to the expressways and so on and so forth. Mr. Supervisor, do we need to make any kind of formal motion to commit to this project so that you can go forward with your interface with the road commission, so that we can pull the trigger at least on this project and let them know that we're committed to phase one and that we want them to come back with additional numbers for the other sections of North Territorial that need to be addressed?
No, I mean, I don't want to rush the board and voting this tonight, but if the board felt that they'd like to make a motion to pass for this one project, they get it, let them know we're committed to this, and then come back.
I think that would be
I mean,
a good
that's-
initial first start for us, if the majority of this board feels we ought to move forward in that direction. And then, of course, we'll have the opportunity to look at the rest of the numbers next month.
Next, right. Basically what they, and this is the other thing that they were discussing today with me, is that, of course, the more that they do, they go out, let's see, they'll probably be end of June, 1st of July. I believe it was probably in the middle of June, they were saying, when they go out for bid to the contractors who do the asphalt and everything on the road. So I think the more, just like anything, the more they're doing, a lot of times the better deal you get. So June, we still have time, but again, I think by us, if we do approve to just get this one project going, and then it's going to combine any other stuff that they might have to come back and give us a better price on the rest of the stuff, I think would be a good move.
To that end, Mr. Supervisor, I'd be happy to make a motion that Salem Township approve the proposed cost of $343,600 for the North Territorial Road repaving project between Pontiac Trail and 830 feet east of Tower Road per the Road Commission proposal.
I'll second.
Mr. Conver, second. Any other questions?
Obviously with the understanding that we get to spread out the payments over 3 years. And so if the clerk would include that in the motion, just so that there's no...
We'll say per the agreement.
And it looks like obviously they'll come back with a
Right,
formal
they're going to have a formal
contract.
contract
Yeah.
and stuff that would have to be signed.
But yeah, I think this would be good to getting the ball going.
Okay. All right, so all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed, so we're ready to get some of that done. All right, and of course, next, in June, we'll give you more of an update of future stuff that moving forward, so. All right. So
All
we're
right,
going.
Mr. Supervisor, I continue on. We will move that Salem Township amend the following sections of the Salem Township Employee Policies and Procedures Manual. Section 3.4.2, part-time employees with prorated benefits. We are going to amend that from 15 hours per week to 17.5 hours per week. And I would also like to make an amendment to my motion to also include section 3.4.3, part-time employees with no benefits. Amend that from 15 hours to 17.5 hours. And these amendments will take effect immediately. Do I have a second?
Yep.
Let me just explain why we're moving from 15 hours to 17.5 hours. Over the years, we've had these medical benefits provided to the employees of the township over the years, and it's come to our attention that Blue Cross Blue Shield will not even allow some of our employees to partake in their Blue Cross benefits unless they have 17.5 hours. So in order to make our employee manual match what we can even provide them by Blue Cross Blue Shield, we just need to change that from 15 to 17.5. It's kind of an easy change, so that's all. It's just matching what our benefits allow us to do with our employees, so that's all that is.
All right, so we have a second. John, Dan, all right? All right, any other discussion, any questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed. Okay, on to Fox Hills, Mr. Trent. Outdoor weddings.
Mr. Supervisor, I move that Salem Township approve the request of Fox Hills Golf Course to hold outdoor weddings at their facility per section 3.26, transit and amusement enterprises. Gatherings of people may be permitted only on the finding by the Township Board that the location of such an activity will not adversely affect adjoining properties or adversely affect public health, safety, morals, or general welfare. See the attached letter from Donna Cripps, Planning and Zoning Administrator.
I'll second that. Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Supervisor, and also, I'm sure the board saw the letter from Fox Hills as well, addressing the concern that they're going to be holding some outdoor weddings with some music activity that will be occurring throughout the summer. And I feel that they're far enough away from any neighboring properties that it would have any potential adverse impact, but again, they've approached us to let us know that that's part of their business plan, that they've got weddings queued up, and after review by Donna Kay, I feel that it's appropriate for us to approve this request.
All right, anybody else?
I do, I have a question. So what recourse do neighbors have over too much noise? As we know, sometimes it's merely the wind blowing in a certain direction. I know that certainly happens in our neighborhood. Folks don't necessarily have stuff cranked up real loud, but the wind direction. So obviously, we don't want to annoy people who are neighboring here, but what recourse do folks have? And what do we do when, if somebody here is living there and they've got an issue, what should they be doing?
Free golf?
Yeah, I think the Fox Hills and their menu that they have and the activities that they have on their property is well expected in the summer. Most of I mean, they might have at the most maybe a half dozen outdoor weddings, so to say. A lot of their stuff is inside because of weather, but occasionally you get somebody who wants to have something outside. Kathy and the owner over there had said that, you know, they just want to make sure that the township is aware of what they are doing. And a facility like that is, I think everybody expects that's what goes on at a country club. They're, you know, well aware of, you know, controlled music. I mean, it doesn't go to like 2 in the morning. It probably go up to, I think they might have put it in the letter, up to 12.
They did 12:30.
12:30.
Well, they're saying 15 to 20 outdoor weddings
Yeah,
this
I
season.
mean, I think last year they actually had a half a dozen, and they have more this year.
Gary,
Yeah.
in the ordinance, it says that this is at the pleasure of the board. So if you were to receive a lot of complaints, then you, as a board, would have the ability to work with Fox Hills and change the situation. It's not like once it's passed, it's forever. It says it in the ordinance, and I read it, it's totally with the permission of the board, which means that you guys can change your mind. So it's not permanent forever.
Right, well, I guess my question, maybe Ed, you could help out on this. If we sign off on this, then does that mean the folks who live over there don't have any recourse?
Well, normally, when you have a request for a transient or using an enterprise like that, it's on a case-by-case basis, so we would be kind of granting them a one-shot deal for anything there. But I think would have to be with the understanding that if there are any complaints by any residents, that the board would have the right to amend that and limit the hours or limit whatever. So I think we can make it, since this is more of a blanket approval that the board's giving, we can put conditions on it.
Can we add conditions tonight if we wanted to, or?
If you
Or does that need to be
if you want to have
redrawn
different
up?
hours or whatever, that's within the prerogative of the board to do that.
They have a history of doing outdoor weddings, and has there ever been any complaints?
Yeah, that was another thing I was wondering.
Yeah, I think they had one complaint, and that's what kind of brought this up. They had one complaint, no one left their name or anything, but Kathy thought she called the township and just explained it. And that's kind of what prompted this.
If you
It's not a
invite-
written complaint, it wasn't to the township, it was just to them, and they just wanted to, probably the way the wind was blowing, I don't know if you've been over there where their gazebo is, where they have something, is really quite a distance from the residents.
If you invite
It's a
all
long
the
way.
neighbors, they don't complain.
That's what I was going to say. Fix that.
All right, anything else? On this? Do you have a second on this? Yeah, I second that, okay. Any other discussion? All right, you take a vote on this, or we still?
I'm looking for the
Okay, let's take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion passes. All right, we're down to the financials under the reimbursement to the 457 plan. I am going to have, during this, I'm going to have our clerk, Mr. Wensley, to read a public statement. Yes.
You've heard me a lot today, so you'll hear me again. Yeah. All right, so this is in your board packet, but we would like to read this. The public statement regarding the settlement of the litigation involving the Township Retirement Fund. The Board of Trustees wishes to advise the residents of Salem that the Township has settled all claims involving its Section 457 Deferred Compensation Plan against David Trent, Linda Hamilton, Barbara McCabe, and Patricia Jenkinson, which includes the claims alleged in 2 lawsuits, one filed by the Township and another filed against the Township. In the first lawsuit, the Township sued David Trent, Linda Hamilton, and Barbara McCabe for claims involving the Section 457 Deferred Compensation Plan adopted by the Township in 1995. The Township has authorized its attorneys to dismiss with prejudice the action pending in the 14th A District Court before the Honorable Cedric Simpson, which sought the recovery of monies paid to these individuals. In the second lawsuit, Mr. Trent, Ms. Hamilton, and Ms. McCabe sued the Township and the members of the Retirement Benefits Compensation Committee for claims including but not limited to alleged violations of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. They have agreed to dismiss with prejudice this lawsuit pending in the Washtenaw Circuit Court before the Honorable Archie C. Brown. The 2 primary reasons for this board's decision to dismiss the lawsuit filed by the Township were: 1, the Township has incurred in excess of $45,000 in attorney fees trying to recover approximately $70,000 with regard to the Section 457 Deferred Compensation Plan. This was no guarantee that the money would ever be recovered. And second, the Township attorney had previously advised against filing a lawsuit back in July of 2010. These lawsuits were dragged on, and the current Board of Trustees felt it was best to put an end to this lengthy litigation and end the continuing attorney fees. As part of the settlement, the parties to the lawsuit have entered into a mutual release of any and all claims against each other. In the course of these lawsuits, there have been many rumors in the Township about improper and even criminal conduct in the past by Salem officials with regard to the Township's retirement plans. The Salem Board of Trustees, our current Salem Board of Trustees, based upon the investigation by 3 different law firms into this matter, have been advised and acknowledges that none of these individuals involved with the Township's retirement plan, especially the prior Township officials, engaged in any type of criminal, illegal, or improper conduct. This entire dispute arose out of an unfortunate misunderstanding regarding the effect of an old Township Section 218 retirement plan on the Township's current Section 457 Deferred Compensation Plan implemented in 1995, as applied to the Township's employees and officials. The settlement of these lawsuits only resolves the claims of the parties actually involved in this settlement. The Township is continuing to work on settling all the remaining claims involving the Township's 457 retirement plan. The Township Board is pleased to put these lawsuits behind us, and we look forward to continuing to serve the residents of Salem Township. Sincerely, the Board of Trustees of Salem.
Thank you, Del. Okay, just a couple comments that I'd like to make about this. This has been an ongoing thing, and I certainly know there's different opinions about this issue. But again, as has been stated in the statement here, to watch this township spend money on these kind of issues is disturbing. In the letter that Mr. Wensley just read, I believe he said that the attorney fees were at $45,000 at the time this letter was written.
Right.
As of right now, it's at over $58,000 as we brought this thing to a close. So here we are chasing something for $70,000, and we're already at $58,000, and then we have other issues which I would like to address here now, to where no matter what your opinion is of this situation, is our opinion as a board is we are not going to allow something like this to continue to cost the township thousands of dollars. There was a trial date set, I believe, sometime in March that would have been also all the extra expenses if this thing would have continued. So, in our opinion as a board, to settle this thing, it's just the right thing to do. And hopefully, in the future, we can learn as a township, as a board, as a community, that when we have issues, that we need to sit down and we need to talk with people on all issues and try to work something out before something comes to this effect, no matter what your opinion is. And that's not what the issue is here tonight. But what our issue is here is that we are going to stop it, or we have stopped it. Both parties have settled, and we're going to move on. The second issue I'd like to approve is that on top of all this that has happened, if you read it, and if some of you don't understand it, I have the time, I'd be glad. You can call me, you have my number, I'd be glad to discuss this over coffee or lunch or whatever, to explain more of it if you don't understand. But the other issue is that there were 3 individuals in this retirement plan that were by all rights being able to be into this program, and was issued a letter from the township demanding that they pay this back. And it was also during that time that they felt that they were legal to be into this program. And by legal counsel, all the papers I have read, the township was told that these people were allowed to be in this program. And they still were demanded that they pay this money back. And because of that, they had to go out and to ask for legal, or to hire legal counsel and spend money out of their pockets, because the township had sent them these letters of demanding money. So it's this board's opinion that because of that, these 3 individuals who were part-time workers at the township were allowed to, by law, were allowed to be into this program. Then this township sent them letters demanding money that they were, to pay back, and they had to fight and defend themselves. And we believe this was wrong on the township's side to do this. So I would like to make a motion tonight that these 3 individuals, and I'm going to, that I move that Salem Township reimburse the attorney fees for Mr. Jim Quigley in the amount of $4,720.22. Then the monies that Ms. Van Fossen had paid back to the township after she received the letter, she paid in the amount of $2,261.00, paid to the township, that she did not have to pay to the township, that we are going to reimburse her money. And then the third is Mr. Mark Kemmler, as a firefighter, who also, his attorney fee bill was $1,918 and I believe 38 cents. And once again, to go back to say, number one, the proof that we have is that by legal counsel of this township advised the previous board not to go down this road. They chose to do it. These are the legal fees that we have in front of us that we have incurred of almost $60,000 chasing $70,000, and it would have been a whole lot more going to trial on this situation. And now we've incurred to pay back these people who should have never been sent a letter of demanding money when they could have been in this program in the first place. So anyway, my motion is that we pay these 3 individuals this amount of money. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Thanks, everybody, for your understanding and patience, and all those involved. I think as a township board, I just want to see not only this board, but also this township move forward, and hopefully we can work out things when we have issues from here on out, that we can work things out. Okay, what's next on the agenda? Mr. Wensley.
I move that Salem Township approve the following cost center budget amendment for the fiscal year 2013-14 in Department 980, which is our capital expenditure account in the technology area. We had a board discussion several months ago about the need for upgrading our software for our accounting programs. And it finally went through, but we had forgotten to do that. We had forgotten to add it to the capital expenditure account. So you see the second page on this motion is the BSNA software. This is that .NET increase. It actually is a whole new software through BSA, which we currently have used for years. It's $15,785, so we'll just be adding that to capital expenditure budget. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Anybody?
Mr. Supervisor, just for clarification, we should also indicate that we're increasing that cost center by that amount as well, too.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, it's passed. Got the reports of the clerk that's in there. And now we're down to public comment. Elmer.
Yes, Jerry Helmer's my name. I'm here representing Scott Holloway, 4 Tracks Farm, Brookville Road, one north to 5 Mile Road, and west of Salem Road. And he asked me to come to the meeting to see what was going on with that, if anything. And I was under the impression now the 2013 market value by the assessor says it's worth $2.4 million, an appraisal of 1.6. He said he would take 1.4 if he could keep the house in 5 acres, or 1.5 with the house. So I'm here to just ask if there's been any discussion, you're thinking about it, talking about it, or that's kind of where we're at.
Okay, thanks, Jerry. Anyone else?
I'll give a quick update on the fire department.
All right.
The fire department did, Northville Crossing did clean up along 8 Mile. And as you're aware, that road's fairly high-speed traffic, so our firefighters used the warning trucks to slow the traffic down and had a very successful cleaning effort this last weekend. And got a lot of letters back from the Modular Home Park saying thank you for the support. Red Cross donated water and Gatorade to the department. They had gotten a large donation from Bush's and other organizations, and so we got some free water out of that. Thanks to the Township newsletter, the green signs are starting to make a hit, so we've gotten 10 requests and we're starting to produce the green signs, and we encourage more and more folks to get those. It helps us as emergency responders to get to your house quicker and identify which is your house. One last, or second to last thing I have is that we did participate in the Westland firefighter funeral. We had 3 firefighters that were schoolmates of the firefighter, so it was really close to home to the firefighters, and it was a sad occasion. It was attended reportedly over 1,500 firefighters. So, and I think I got reports that our truck was actually on the news, our engine, if I should be. I gave to the board a packet with our annual calls for this month, and provided to me from HVA. Our central dispatch was HVA's response times. And for the 52 medical calls between January and March, the average response time for Salem Township was 10.6 minutes. The rule expectation is within 15 minutes. And our average response time for the month of April was 6 minutes and 39 seconds, which gave us 4 minutes ahead of time that we're helping citizens waiting for HVA to arrive. So having the small trucks deployed is making a difference to our citizens. So that's all I had, quick report.
Thanks, Chief. Yeah, sure.
You know how we've been having all this crime and stuff going on in Salem and the neighboring townships and stuff, and I know that there's probably more people interested in security gates for their driveways and stuff like that, and I was thinking the other day, if I have one of these gates and all that, and then I need to call you, is there some sort of thing we should let people know that if they have, can we give you codes?
Yes. Well, what we ask that you do is work with us, and we'll give you the central dispatch, which will store that in the computer. So if your house comes up with an address that says, we've got a security gate, if it's the police or the fire or the ambulance that shows up, they will transmit the code to let them know. Or with the larger communities, we ask that they install a Knox box, which they get with the fire inspector, and the Knox box will contain the keys or codes, depending on what type of system you have, that allow us to gain entry in an emergency. So the library is a typical example of places we look for Knox boxes. It gives us the whole set of keys into the building. And actually, believe it or not, it saved the business money. They had a ruptured pipe. We've got a low flow or water flow alarm in there in the winter time, and we went in there because of the winter, found a ruptured pipe, and were able to shut that off much quicker, and it was a Sunday when nobody was there, so we were able to minimize damage. So we encourage residents that do have these gated communities to work with us, so in times of emergency, we're not delayed by trying to get into that area.
Okay, anybody else?
Can I ask a question? We live on a private drive, and does it make sense to have at the, like for instance, Napier Road, our smallest address to our largest address as opposed to everybody having their own on the road, which they seem opposed to?
Well, the challenge we have is, think of it from our point of view. We typically get called in the worst of the conditions, whether it's fog, rain, or snow. And we're looking for an address, and typically most of our speeds are 45 to 60 miles or 55 miles an hour down the road. So anything that you can help identify where your address is going to expedite our arrival to your location. So if we do have some that have a multitude of mailboxes, and some people, we've had challenges where I've seen the lettering on one side of the mailbox. So if you happen to be going the other way, you see the addresses, and then you have to do a turnaround, so that all slows us down. So if you've got a specific question, give us a call. We'd be happy to come out and work with you guys and kind of see what works best for your area.
Okay, anybody else? If not, let's remember June the 8th, just to give you a couple announcements before you leave tonight, is our annual Flag Day that's coming up. And now, has everybody been to Flag Day? Mr. Farley, have you been to Flag Day yet?
Yes.
Are you? He's shaking his head. Anyway, encourage people. It's one of the biggest things the township does, the community events does, and to be supportive of that. We encourage everybody to be a part of that, the fireworks and everything that's involved in that day, which is June 8th, right? Parade starts at 11, and we'd like to see everybody out. Now, Joanne or Sandy, you got any report on how we did on the boxes for the soldiers and stuff?
We had 20-some women and a couple men show up and help out, and we filled 10 35-pound boxes, so it's 350 pounds going out to the soldiers from the areas, or
Great.
troops from the area. But if anybody here, we need a couple more names to send those boxes to, so if anybody.
Salem.
From Salem. If anybody in the area here has a family member, a friend, that kind of thing, that they know of that's deployed over to Afghanistan, we really would appreciate it, because we're considering doing this again at the end of the year for Christmas stockings to send to the troops. So it would be good to have them touch base with us. We'd be more than happy to send a box.
Great.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
It was a good thing.
Right.
The picture was in the paper showing all the boxes and all of us who were there.
Okay.
And I thought that was a good advertisement to get other people to do it as
Yeah.
well.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, them are good things. So anything we can do to enhance our community, we all want to be a part of it, so it's a good thing. All right, anybody else? All right, then we will move on to motion to go into closed session. Mr. Converse?
Mr. Supervisor, I move that Salem Township Board of Trustees go into closed session to consult with the township attorney regarding pending litigation pursuant to MCL 15.268 and to discuss attorney memorandum attorney pursuant to MLC 15.28268.
Do we have a second?
Second?
All right, we have to take a roll call.
Converse?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yep.
McLaughlin?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Winsley, yes. Whitaker?
Yes.
Pass.
All right, we'll take about a 15-minute break. There's a lot of goodies back there. Thanks, everybody, for coming out tonight, and have a good night.